Roberto Monaco here with Influenceology and the Car Speaking Company. And today I have a master, not trainer. I have a master of influence, my buddy, my friend, Jim Miller. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm real excited to be here with you and your crowd. Like I was saying, I knew that if I was coming on to a call with Roberto Monaco, I had to get pumped up and charged up. I couldn't take it easy. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be here to talk about probably what I believe is one. Other than my faith, is probably the most important thing to me, and that's the discussion of influence and persuasion, negotiation, right? And how complex the world has become. The market has become, individuals have become, so that the old school stuff that we grew up on, the Zig Ziglar, the feel, felt, found type of stuff, it's no longer as relevant as it was, because just things have progressed, right?
Jim. Jim was my mentor at the Tony Robbins companies, and I never forget one of the best sales training I had was in Denver, and we finished up a UPW in Denver, and you preparing us to go to New York was my first time in New York to selling. And I'm not gonna get into the whole training, but man, you're training us on the psychology of our own psychology, how to own our psychology, because if you don't own your psychology and you go to New York and you won't be able to overcome objections. One of the most powerful, profound trainings I still remember has been almost 18 years. So thank you so
That's
much
right.
for everything you've
Yeah.
done for me. So
Hey,
one
you're
of the things that, by the way, if you don't follow Jim on Facebook or LinkedIn, Jim Miller. I put his LinkedIn profile here. Every day he puts some amazing, amazing content out there in the context of persuasion, sales influence. And one of the things that all your posts are always provoking, they're always jabbing sales and stop selling. Sales is dead. So let's talk about the conversation. And you do, quote unquote, or used to do sales training. Now you do influence training. Why stop selling, start influencing?
Well, look, there's the big difference between selling and influencing is that selling is an energy of convincing, right? Of me trying to convince you to purchase what it is that I'm offering, whether it's a program or it's a product. And so what I'm speaking into is my agenda into making it your agenda, right? This is selling. And this convincing, right? This convincing is something that people really are not they really don't have a taste for it. And then everything that's associated with selling, right, is very manipulative in a sense. I'm not saying that there's everything is wrong with manipulation. There's beneficial manipulation, right? Benevolent manipulation, like if you're manipulating someone's heart in a heart attack, okay? However, like for example, I'll give you one example. Overcoming objections, right? Overcoming objections. People are naturally going to resist. Sales takes it as an unnatural response that has to be overcome. And the truth is that resistance is not something that we overcome. I don't even believe in objections in the word. I believe what they are subjections, right? Because they're thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, they're all subjective. And in being so, my responsibility as an influencer is to facilitate you through the resistance that you're giving yourself. You're not giving it to me. You're resisting yourself. You've always been resisting yourself in most cases. That's why you're either on the call with me, or you're in the office with me, or you're seeking to purchase what I have because you have a need, or you have a desire, right? So my role as an influencer is simply to help you, to allow you, to facilitate you achieving what it is you want, right? And to get you past yourself. So this is really, I believe it's a more elegant, a more intellectual, more humane and compassionate approach to allowing people to achieve what they want in life. And the results are, the teams that I train, in my own, I mean, generally we're talking, we're anywhere at 50 to 80% enrollment in our conversations. Right?
That's powerful. By the way, Michelle says hi. Michelle Trash, what's up, Michelle? Say hi. What's up, Justin? What's up, Dr. Justin? Let's go. And then we have Robert Brown. I love Bob Brown. I love the psychology of influence. This is great. Where does sales and influence starts?
Sales ended a long time ago. Sales is dead.
For those salespeople out there,
sales is dead. It's in the ground. It's buried. It ended a long time ago. I can tell you where sales ended is when Google, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the places where it ended. That's one of because people now, a lot of selling strategies were developed back in the early 30s and the 40s when people really didn't have access to information. And so they generally encountered maybe only one or two people that in regards to what it is they desired, they couldn't research it. They couldn't compare. Right. So sales tactics, right? If you read the old sales books, they're filled with tactics, and the tactician really ended when the consumer became a lot more knowledgeable mm-hmm. and a lot more prepared, so that really now it's equal grounds. It's equal grounds, right? And that's what influence, where sales looks to dominate, right? Where's my hand? Here we go. So yep. The seller and the buyer are right here, with the sales dominating because he's got more information, he's got more power, he's situated, he's got more experience, whatever the case may be. Influence meets you on equal ground, right? So it's more of an emotional, compassionate equivalent, right? Where I'm having a discussion, an intelligent discussion to serve you, right? To serve you and facilitate you, and then deliver what it is. The word sell means to give up, right? It means to give. Right. So it comes from the word salen, which means to give, to offer, to surrender. Right. So anyway, so this is kind of where it ended and it became with the consumer. The consumer changed.
Okay, for sure.
The market got more complex. Right. Selling cycles or cycles where, all of a sudden, you've got CRMs, you've got sales funnels, you've got all of this, right? And I worked with many of the masters of sales, right? And the one thing that I can tell you is that shifting from working with masters of sales to masters of psychology and masters of influence is a whole different story. Mm-hmm. It's a complete, let me give you an example. One of the best books. Do you mind if I mention a book?
No, go ahead. Let's go. Let's give some resources. I love that.
But look, Immunity to Change, Robert and Lisa Lasco. Immunity to Change, probably one of the best books written. And what it discusses is, why are people resistant to change, right? Mm-hmm. And so they go into this discussion that we actually have an immunity to change, right? So it's just extraordinary. But what they get into in one of their discussions is they get into what's called mental complexities. Okay. That we as human beings, right, as we age and develop, our mind, our mentality, right, becomes more and more complex. And so, for example, they begin with the strategies of the socialized mind. The socialized mind generally begins in the young teens, right? And then may go through the 20s and even to the 30s, where we're looking to fit in, right? We're looking for external cues to determine our behavior. This is the socialized mind. So, for example, if I'm speaking to someone that I know is younger, right? If you have a young client, then what I'm going to do, if we're all familiar with Robert Cialdini's book on influence, right? Dr. Cialdini, one of the strategies of influence is a social proof, right? So if I'm speaking to someone who's in a socialized mental complexity, then I'm going to use social proof as a strategy to facilitate them, because that's what they're listening for. That's what they're looking for. So the word influence, influere, to flow into, means that I'm going to meet you where you are, and I'm going to flow into your listening, into your understanding, into your complexity, into your experiences, right? So I'm going to use social proof. Now, the next level of social complexities is self-authoring. Self-authoring, not in the sense that you're writing something, but you're the authority of yourself. You're no longer looking for external cues to determine your behavior. You are creating the external cues to shape the behavior of others, right? So if I'm speaking to someone, like, for example, if I'm speaking to an executive, I know you have a lot of business people, you have a lot of chiropractors that are in here. If I'm speaking to someone that I'm assuming has, right, a greater degree of complexity in business or whatever the case may be, I'm not using social proof as a strategy to facilitate them in coming to a decision or a choice, right? I'm speaking into them, what they know. So I may frame it as, Roberto, as you already know from your own experience, right? Business, blah, 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 right? So I'm referring back to them, speaking into their reality. And this is where influence, understanding personality types, Hippocrates back in the ancient Greeks are the ones who started the actual personality types, right? Influencing person, the ancient Greeks, I always said that the greatest endeavor that the human mind can be involved in is the art of influence. And so they started creating Hippocrates, the Hippocratic Oath, right? Hippocrates is the one who created the beginning of the 4 personality types, which ultimately led into Marston creating the disc model, right? Right. Jung before him. And, now we use the disc model to identify. So if I'm speaking into someone that I know is dominant, right, from that disc model, or is a controller, right? This is another controller, supporter, influencer, analyzer, or dominant, influencer, steadiness, and compliant and disc. If I'm speaking to someone who I know is dominant, then what I know what they want already. They want to know, what are the results? Save me the story, just give me the results. If I'm speaking to an analyzer, I'm speaking to someone who is compliant, then what they want is the facts. Give me the facts, right? So this is what influence is all about. Influence is a more effective strategy, right, of enabling people, allowing people to achieve what it is they want to achieve in life. It's a facilitation.
Where does the headspace, I know from your background, when you talk about the psychology of the presenter, of the professional, of the influencer, how does someone increase or strengthen his or her own psychology?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Beautiful question. Because you already know this, and you master this as well. And that is, what you focus on expands. So once your focus becomes becoming a more effective influencer, then all of a sudden this topic expands. You will have a desire to now expand your knowledge, to expand your intellect, to read books. One of the greatest.
Oh yeah, that's a great book. Great book.
Right?
Yep.
Nobel Prize winner. I worked with him briefly when I was working up at Harvard with Max Bazerman, who's probably one of the greatest minds in negotiation in the world. They were business partners, and Tony and I were looking to buy their business, right? So I had a chance to work with him. But anyway, when you realize how important influence is in your life, if you're in business, in any business, and you're influencing patients, or you're influencing employees, or you're influencing your customers, right? Then you start listening for the conversations. You start reading the material. This is, education, educare, right? Education is absolute preparation. Preparation is absolutely necessary in order to scale anyone's position in life. People say there's no easy way. I believe it is an easy way. It is an easy way, simply by reading and studying and engaging in conversations in things that you love, right? And you realize how important they are. I think is an easy way to do it. So start with the right books. Start with conversations, right? Get into chats. Get into programs where you learn this stuff. Right?
No, so this is I took this is one of your posts from I copy and paste. This is why do you so easily allow our prospects to end the call with the reaction that they want to think about it.
Exactly.
By the way, this is not my language. This is like
right,
this is a topic.
right.
I just copy and paste. I'm like, so what's going on here?
I've trained thousands of people into this field, right? Into sales or influence or negotiation, right? And the one thing I know is that people, salespeople or whoever, right? Business people, when your client says, or when your prospect, because they're not a client yet, right? They're not a client because they sign a contract. They sign a contract because they become a client. Do you understand that? They become a client first and then sign a contract.
Mm-hmm,
like millionaires become millionaires first and then they get paid. It's the same thing. So when people tell you they want to think about it, right? What they're doing is they're resisting. It's not an objection. You don't overcome, I want to think about it, because first of all, that's not the reality. They don't want to think about it. They simply are in a place of resistance to move forward. And who really is comfortable moving forward when first presented with anything, right? Because what you're talking about generally to move forward is some sort of commitment, financial, time, relationship, partnership. And the truth is, we are coping mechanisms. We cope, right? We're designed to cope, to get by, to be comfortable. Calm fortis. Calm meaning with, fortis meaning strong, right? We're strongest in what we know and what is familiar. Change is when we get uncomfortable. We lose our strength, right? So when people say they want to think about it, what it really means is I don't even give it attention. When people tell me, Jim, you know what? It's a really great offer and everything, but I'm going to have to think about this. Anybody, does it sound familiar to people?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to think about this and get back to you. I've got your email address and blah blah, and they're assuring me now, right?
So perfect. This is perfect. So when most people who are not trained, they hear about it, they go from my state of certainty, of congruency, of power, and just the words I'm going to think about start eroding their psychology, right?
Two reasons. Number one, because they are expecting the wrong thing. You're expecting people to tell you yes. No, people are not going to tell you. They're going to resist. Expect it. Embrace it. It's part of the human. You wouldn't be paid the money you're being paid, the commission you're being paid, if people said yes to everything. They just put up a link and people go to the link and buy. But no, you're in sales or you're in the profession of influence for right, because you are required to facilitate people to take action. So number one, they don't, and number two, they're not prepared to handle it. They look at it as rejection. I simply look at it as resistance. And this is where I, as the professional now, really get to do my job and to do my work. And that is to help you, right? To understand where you are. So when somebody tells me I want to think about it, the first thing I do, I'll go, sure. Like that. Sure. Like,
well, not me, just go right here. Right here.
Sure. I pay it no attention. Why? Listen carefully. Influence is the art of state inducement. Right?
Yeah.
When you put people in the state of resistance, they are in no emotional place to make a decision or a choice.
And that is so good. Go back a bit. Make sure you get a pen and paper. Write this down, because that's the golden nugget. All right?
When you are calling people to action, your CTA, right?
Yeah.
First of all, let me help you. Do not ask people to make a decision. Give them a choice, right? I don't ask people, do you want to come in or don't you want to come in? No. What I ask them is, how do you want to come in? Are you more comfortable paying in full, or are you more comfortable on, paying over time? Which one are you more comfortable with? Choice. Are you more comfortable with the program A, or are you more comfortable with program B? Choice. No decision. All right.
Love that.
Now,
let's talk about that. When you generate, they think about it, they have this state, and you try to overcome their own state.
So understand this. They're no longer in state to buy. You must re-induce state. Get them back in the state of desire. Okay? How do you do that? Well, what I do is I do what Daniel Kahneman says, what he teaches, is remembrance. Put them in a state of remembrance. So I might say, Roberto, you tell me, look, Jim, I want to think about everything. Oh, okay, sure. Listen, Roberto, by the way, before I let you go, you see, I'm letting you think that I'm going to let you go. You won. I'm not coming at you. I'm not going to try to convince you. I'm not going to try to overcome your objection. Okay, you won. So before I let you go, Roberto, the one thing that really intrigued me is when you talked about how at some point when you're in a position of prosperity and you've expanded your business, how much your family is going to be able to experience an extraordinary lifestyle, right? That you've always wanted for them, right? You see, I'm being very descriptive in remembrance. And so putting you back in state. And so, and then I'll ask you, just out of curiosity, what is the most important change that you see occurring once you're in that place of total abundance, and now your whole family changes, your whole family lifestyle changes? Tell me the one thing, share that with me again. That was powerful. Okay. Now you're going to talk.
Yeah.
You're going to get back in state.
Yeah.
Once you're back in state, now what I'm going to do is look to uncover what is behind. I want to think about it, because there's always something behind. I want to think about it. So you go into your description about how your family's going to change. I may ask a couple of follow-up questions, which is always good. Vertical questioning is a process that I teach. And then I'll say, just by the way, Roberto, that's such an extraordinary vision, and something that I really wish for you and your family at some point in your life. See, I'm not coming at you. At some point in your life, I'm not even saying this now. At some point in your life. And the one thing that I can share with you is that the clients that I work with that had similar desires and have similar desires, when they were first offered the opportunity to enter into a program that was going to enable them to get there, there was one of three things that caused them to have resistance. The first one was whether or not they trusted themselves or the program that it was actually really going to happen for them. Number two is whether or not they really had the time. Is this going to consume all of my time? Am I really going to be held accountable for it? Will I show up, right? And then thirdly is the money, the economics associated with it, right? I know you want to move forward with this because I can tell by what you're telling me. Which one of the three is it for you? Then you're going to tell me, now I get to facilitate you through that resistance. So if it's money, for example, we go into, let's get resourceful, right? There's many different ways to find $10,000, right, that I can share with you, that I've shared with other clients in your same situation. If it's trust, listen, there's a number of different testimonials. There's also some experiences, similar experiences that I can share with you from other clients who felt exactly how you feel. If it's time and energy and accountability, I can show you that the program has a process by which you follow so that we're holding you accountable. We're organizing all the structure so that you just show up and we'll tell you and show you and exemplify you and support you in doing what needs to be done, right? So
that's outstanding.
There's always a way to facilitate, but you've got to get on the other side of I want to think about.
Dude, you just dropped. There's so many comments here. Bob Brown, trust, social proof, money, resource. He's taking notes. My brother here, help them remember. Pin the picture that puts them in state to tell what they say they want. I love it. I love it. Don't hard close. Make a decision now instead of give them a choice. I love it. We even have, I think Vinicius are here from Brazil. Hello, Vinicius. Fala, meu irmão. Vinicius does sales training in Brazil. And this is fantastic.
My wife is from Venezuela.
De Venezuela. Hablamos espanhol. Sí, senhor. Jim, you provide so much value, my brother. Before I want to be respectful of your time. Again, guys, if you want to connect with Jim, what's the best way to connect with you, Jim?
Well, Facebook, you know, Messenger, Facebook Messenger, or LinkedIn, or, you know, if they want to, my email address, jemsd1@gmail.com. All right.
Amazing. So what does the future look like for people, professionals of influence? What's the future look like?
Well, the future looks great. There's just a tremendous amount of books and information and conversation. And again, the quicker we put sales in the
Dr. Joseph said, Roberto just said, before I let you go, man, you're fast. Dr. Joseph is fast.
Me, baby.
That's unconscious. That's unconscious, man.
Unconscious framing. Exactly. So listen, you know, look, the game, the market is going to drive it. The future is going to drive it. People are going to respond to more enlightened approaches of influence than they are to sales. They're not going to respond to salespeople. You know, who wants to get caught up into a sales vortex, right? It's horrible. But the truth is that you know it really takes an intention to become an expert at this. It's extraordinary learning the material on it. You know, I've been studying it for 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's just great stuff.
My brother, thanks so much, buddy. God bless you. I appreciate everybody here. Dr. Justin, Robert Brown, Michelle, Vinicius, everybody here plugging in. Everybody's going to watch the recording later. Much love to you guys. There's a link below here to connect to Jim. Don't speak to inform. Speak to transform. And I see you guys very soon. Thanks, my brother. Appreciate you, buddy.
Take care, brother.